Foster here today. Thanks for being here. What's up?
Hey, thank you so much for having me. It's a Monday, so, start to the week.
Yes. So guys, go check her out, foster.health over on Instagram. And I love the way you describe yourself. You're an alignment coach, which a lot of people will be like, what are you, a chiropractor? No, not that kind of alignment. You're trying to get people into emotional alignment and self-care and paying attention to the things that maybe they're limiting themselves on in their own head. I think that is the wave of the future when it comes to coaching. We have life coaches, we have physical personal trainer coaches, which you are a badass in the gym. I love watching your videos. Yeah. And you got diet coaches, you got all these different coaches, but I think what you're doing is kind of cutting edge.
Thank you so much. Yes. It's funny because I tried, I was a keto coach for the longest time, and it just, as I'm growing in my journey, it just didn't feel quite exactly aligned with myself. And so I was like, what's a different hat that I would like to try on that would feel better for me? And the word alignment came up for me. And really what that means is just everything needs to be in congruency and alignment together for something to work properly, right? For example, we can have our bodies absolutely looking phenomenal, killing it, but when our minds aren't right and aligned, then something's going to be off, right? Same thing going with, even like spirituality. If something is off in your spirituality, then things can go off kilter. For example, there's a lot of people that have tried dieting. They've tried everything, and maybe they had short-term success, but the long-term success wasn't there. That's because their mind wasn't aligned, or maybe their spirit wasn't aligned, or vice versa. So that's kind of what I like to touch on, is the trifecta of health, and wellness, which is mind, body, and spirit.
Can I tell you that I think a lot of people that have been in the keto space for a while are going the direction you're going? Because I think we all kind of get it. Like, keto is not hard. Like, it's really not at the end of the day. And really exercise, I know there's little nuanced things, and you got a little booty building program and all kind of things you do. It's cool what you do. But I think this direction of mindset and getting people to look introspectively is kind of that next wave for so many people, because we're like, hey, we got the nutrition, we got the movement, maybe a little nuance help here and there, but where we really need help is past traumas and emotional things and the negative self-talk that we do to ourselves, on and on and on. I don't think enough people talk about that. So I think you're onto something really big here.
Yeah, and I think it was really something that was brought to the forefront really with last year, because 2020 was that mirror that people kept running away from with, just keeping themselves busy on the go. We didn't have time to preoccupy ourselves with ourselves, to go inward, to really kind of face some of the quote unquote demons that we haven't really healed. And a lot of that came up for people, and many people, unfortunately, didn't know how to handle that. And so that's where mental health is really coming into play. And that's why there's such a big push for it, because now people are realizing, like, oh, crap. Okay, this is something that needs to be addressed. And we've been pushing it under the rug, trying to forget about it for way too long, or tossing pills and prescriptions at it, trying to think, okay, that'll, that it's just a chemical imbalance. That's all it is. Here's a pill, take it, and not really diving into the root of the problem. Right. And now realizing there's the root of the problem that needs to be addressed too.
Yeah, I've got a life coaching friend who happens to be a licensed therapist, and she says literally every one of her clients were doing so well until the pandemic hit last year. And it just seems like the barrage of negativity online, which I've even noticed, I don't know if you've noticed, I see you're at almost 3,800 followers, that has kind of been stagnant in growth on social media, and everybody freaks out about it. I'm like, guys, it's everybody right now. There are people that are going, I just can't handle it. I got to get off of social media. And actually, Stephanie, some days I wish I could get off of social media. It's kind of an occupational hazard at this point, but it's a beast, and people are feeling it.
Oh, yeah. I actually took a social media detox last year. I think in like September, and I was going through a rough patch myself. I went through a breakup, as probably a lot of people went through during COVID, because it magnified a lot of things for people.
Yeah.
And I really just needed time to myself. I needed a break. And I love my followers. They're amazing. And I'm so appreciative of them for following me on the journey. And many of them stuck with me after that. But the growth, like you said, just halted. It came super stagnant. Not really entirely sure exactly why, but there's a lot of guesses as to why. But it is what it is. And it's just a matter of, hitting the people that really need it. They're going to find you. I really have a belief that, God or the universe, whatever you want to believe in, is going to bring the people that need you in particular to you at some point.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I think diversifying your platforms, this is a video podcast as well as on my regular podcast, and I throw it on IGTV. I put it everywhere. And so it reaches more people where they are, wherever they happen to still be. There are some people that they only have Instagram. They only have Facebook. They only have, one or two things here just to kind of keep their mental sanity. Now, how long was your time away, the detox from social media?
A whole month.
A month. Okay.
A month on all of them.
In September of 2019, I did something I had never done in my whole career. I've been at this 17 years. I did a 6-month, not just off social media, off everything. I just turned it all off to get rid of the noise. And when I did that, so many other things that had been screaming at me that I wasn't hearing came to the surface. And I had some shit to deal with, unfortunately, through all of that. I'm glad, because some of that stuff came up, and still kind of working through even today, some of those things that came up in the midst of that. And I know that's not practical for most people, but it is something that even in the day-to-day, people could implement a little mini sabbatical of giving themselves an hour or two, or however much time they have, to work on themselves. How do they do that?
And it's one thing that I do recommend is watching The Social Dilemma, just to kind of open your eyes a little bit as to that. That's a big one, to where, because you're like, I don't need that. Why do I need that? And you really can get into the psychology aspect of it and the, neuroscience of it. And, something to where when you take a break from social media, you find yourself with a lot of space. And sometimes that can feel really uncomfortable for somebody. And it's really kind of sitting with that. And I think a lot of the times we run away from that quiet time. Or, for example, if there is, just even silent space on the radio, it's awkward. Or when you're conversing with someone and you take a pause, it's awkward. And it shouldn't be like that. We should be comfortable with that. But we're so often filled with, so like you said, so much noise that we don't know how to handle silence. We don't know how to handle that within ourselves.
Yeah. I think a lot of people manufacture noise to cover up the noise they don't want to deal with.
Exactly. And meditation is a big one.
Yes.
That's a big one. And that's, I've had a client tell me, oh, well, I'm not really good at meditation. Well, no one's really good at meditation. It's not something you become good at. It's just a practice. That's all it is. And you pretty much have to filter out through all of the junk, right? So, you've been putting off all of the noise or dealing with the noise for a long time. So it compounds. So yeah, whenever you sit with yourself, it's almost just like, it's like a closet, right? You throw a whole bunch of clothes in there. You haven't really kind of cleared it out. You open the door, you look at it, and you're like, oh God, I really don't want to deal with that. And so now you have the space, you have the time to deal with it. So you open the door, and it seems really overwhelming at first, but as soon as you start clearing the clothes, you start organizing things, over time, it's going to look better. And over time, it's going to feel better. And that's the same way with meditation. At first, when you start trying it, it's going to feel overwhelming. You're going to have so many thoughts coming through, and that's completely normal, and that's okay. It's not meant to be, I just have, ultimate silence in my head for 20 minutes. That, I would be lucky if I do that for 30 seconds to a minute.
Yeah. Have you ever put on one of those little, one of my cats is having a meditation session apparently. Hush, I'm on live TV or live audio right now.
I love that. My cat decided to jump in my lap, so he might make an appearance. I'm not sure.
We have the cat stories. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, they set themselves up for destructive behavior because they let the mind go into deep, dark places. Like on a conscious level, nobody does that on purpose. Why do we do it?
Yeah, it's just we're so primed to think negatively. That's a lot of the times we focus a lot on what we don't want. And so we get in this negative feedback loop, right? Instead of focusing on what we do want. So oftentimes, if we're, for example, weight loss, we're focusing on, oh, I don't want to gain the 15 pounds again. I don't want to gain the 15 pounds again. I don't want to gain the 15 pounds again. So you work on losing the 15 pounds, right? And you're just so fearful of regaining those 15 pounds. Well, guess what you're focused on? Regaining those 15 pounds. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to gain 15 pounds instead of concentrating on your new lifestyle, concentrating on, the new body that you have, how you feel. And all, instead of being from a fearful place, it's being from an abundant place. You're not going to gain those 15 pounds back.
Right.
So stepping into that.
And yet people will put themselves in that state of anxiety, which then the anxiety makes them stressed, and then the stress makes them gain weight. And then they become depressed from the gaining of the weight that came from the stress over the thing of, oh, I hope I don't gain back 15 pounds. It's a ruthless cycle. And yet everybody plays those games in their head.
Oh, 1000%. Yeah, it is a completely ruthless cycle. And the key thing is just breaking the cycle. And the first step to that is self-awareness. It's just becoming self-aware of your destructive patterns. Knowing how they're triggered is the next step. So knowing what triggers those destructive patterns. Is it something that you're hearing? Is it something that you're smelling? Is it something that you're tasting, feeling? What is it that is causing you or seeing? So those are the things that we dive into with my one-on-one coaching is what is it that is driving you towards that type of pattern? For example, binge eating. So a lot of the times when people are so restrictive, when they're, dieting, then they go on these binge eating episodes. So a lot of the times that's either triggered by stress, for example, or they need comfort. And that's the only thing that they know that is an immediate comfort, right? That dopamine response. And then a lot of the times it's also looking and channeling into your emotional state. What void are you trying to fill? So a lot of the times that can be actual metaphorically and physically, because as you're stuffing yourself, you're trying to stuff that empty feeling that you have.
Yeah.
You're trying to do that in the physical plane.
Man, that speaks to so many people. And I hear from them every day, Stephanie. They'll write me and go, I'm trying so hard. I'm doing all the things. I'm doing everything right. And nothing's working. Help me. And I'm just like, okay, relax, like chill. Like, this is your life. Why does it have to be something dramatic and I get it. People kind of get caught up in the emotion of the moment, but think things through, look ahead, kind of envision, okay, if I lose a half a pound a week, how many weeks will it take me to reach that weight loss goal that I want? And then it looks manageable if you look at it through that prism. But I think because society kind of puts this onus on us that everything has to happen in kind of microwave time right now, I need it yesterday, that they kind of put this undue pressure on themselves that they have to do something that might be impossible.
Keto doesn't have to be hard. Just use Keto Chow, the magical meal replacement that makes keto easy. Each delicious shake provides 1/3 of your daily nutrients, meaning it's more than just a snack. It's a complete keto meal.
Wow, I'm full, and I didn't even eat the children.
With Keto Chow, prep takes seconds. Just add the fat you want, Keto Chow, water, and shake. And before you know it, you'll be getting rid of the fat you don't want.
Ooh.
So if you want the benefit of keto without the hassle, click to order your Keto Chow starter bundle today. You'll get 6 delicious keto meals with our most popular flavors and a free blender bottle. I wish I was free. In this freaking tower.
Soon, darling.
No, wait! Ah! 1 serving of Keto Chow provides you with all the protein, vitamins, and electrolytes your body needs in a meal.
Go to jimmylovesketochow.com to get your Keto Chow today.
Well, it's all in our face, this immediate, gratification or just everything has to be right now. For example, it's like, I don't even remember, like 15 years ago, emails, if you don't respond within, 2 days and no one's trying to you. If you don't respond now within the first like 3 hours, it's like, are you okay? Is something wrong? What's going on? It's like, oh my God, just hold on a second, right? Texting is the same thing. It's all of these automatic things. And so people think that your body is the same way. Our bodies are not meant to run at that same pace as technology. We are physical beings. We're not, we're not technological AIs. So it's not something that we can just press a button and our body is going to respond.
When I was running from the thing I needed to deal with during my sabbatical, one of my bad habits, Stephanie, was I was the guy known for answering your email in less than an hour after you sent it. In fact, I had one of my friends in the low-carb space. He reached out to me because he's like, are you okay? You didn't respond in an hour. I'm like, have I so trained you to think I'm going to always respond in an hour? And the answer is, yeah, I sure did.
Yeah, and it's really important too. I think another matter of self-love is setting boundaries.
Yes.
Like if you, if you really want to have that space for yourself, set the boundary of, I am not answering emails after 7 p.m. That's it.
Yeah.
And if you lose a little bit of business of it, then cool. You're letting go of the clients that aren't serving you, that aren't respecting your boundaries, and you're going to regain clients that are going to respect your boundaries.
Yes.
That are going to be like, you know what, that's totally okay. And what's funny is that most people are so fearful of setting the boundary, but they don't understand that a lot of the times it's completely, they completely get it.
Yeah.
They understand where you're coming from. They're, either they have a family of their own or something that's going on for them, and they understand. They're understanding.
Oh, I was so concerned when I went away for 6 months. Nobody's going to pay attention when I come back. Of course, little did I know when I came back March of 2020, 2 weeks later, we'd be in a global pandemic, but that was good timing, not. By the way, Ben Greenfield, when I interviewed him one time, he said, yeah, man, I only check email once a week on Tuesdays. I was like, what? Like, that was so mind-blowing to me, but now I'm like, yeah, I get that. That's cool.
Yeah, and it helps you as well just manage your time and not feel overwhelmed and feel so stressed out because you're not getting the really important things done. You're just responding to emails, so you're in that reactive state rather than proactive. And so maybe you're finding yourself not able to, get new business or get new clients because you're constantly reacting. You're not focusing on your genius.
And I think a lot things people have, it tends to come down to time management, time priority. Like we say we don't have time, but then I know you as a coach, you kind of dig into that and you see where people waste time. Social media is a big one, but just of just things that are frivolous. I mean, and I've been down the rabbit hole of looking at a YouTube video and 3 hours later still watching videos. We've all done that, but it's a big time suck. And so redeeming your time and then reallocating it to the things that matter, that's a big part of realigning yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. TikTok is another one that I really try to stay away from. That you can get, 3 hours later, talk about that. Yeah, and that's one of those that I got rid of during my social media detox. And I still look at it from time to time, but nowhere near as I was doing during the pandemic.
Yeah, I love the ones that go viral that people repost on Instagram, and that's about the only ones I see because, it's only like 15 seconds, but still, you can watch hundreds of 15 seconds and you've lost half your day.
Oh, yeah. And it's incredible. And it's just really trying to catch yourself, right? And almost like even making it harder for yourself. For example, if you have Instagram or social media right on your home screen as like the first thing that pops up, well, then put it in a folder, make it harder for you to actually access it. Right. And then, focus on other things and distract yourself in that way.
Or set a timer if you do get on there. And then when that timer dings, you got to get off. I mean, there's little tricks you can do, I suppose, to hack it.
Yeah, and find things that are more important. You're going and things that are very important to you, right? Because then that's when you're going to break that cycle. You're not going to break that cycle to, go wash dishes or something like that. That's just human nature. You're going to remain on Instagram. It's more quote unquote fun. But find something that you really need to work on, that you want to work on. Procrastination is a huge thing too. And there was a good coach of mine that she mentioned something that was really interesting about how you can kind of help break that procrastination tendency. So a lot of the times, if, for example, the gym, right? A lot of us don't want to go to the gym. I kind of find myself in that camp many a times because it's early in the morning when I go to the gym. And sometimes I might feel tired. And so I just say, I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to go to the gym. And you really lean into that. Let all of that negative energy out and just keep saying it. I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to go to the gym, and really just let it out. And then after you kind of get all of that out of your system, and you can say it 10, 15, 20, 30 times, however many times that you need to do that to get it out of your system, you take that time. And then after that, you say, I have to go to the gym. I have to go to the gym. I have to go to the gym. And you kind of put a little bit of that urgency in there. I have to go to the gym. And then once you get that out of your system, you say, I get to go to the gym. I get to go to the gym. And you get excited about it. And you really lean into that energy of feeling excited. And then once you kind of get feeling that energy of feeling excited, take action immediately and go. Because then you're really riding off of that wave of excitement of you get to go to the gym. Not everyone gets to go to the gym.
It's like the train, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. And then by the end, it's I know I can, I know I can, I know I can. It's, the power of our own words. I don't think people wield it nearly enough. I think we can talk ourselves in or out of literally anything.
Oh, 1000%. And the way that we talk to ourselves is also really huge. What goes inside of our inner dialogue is really big. And like I mentioned before, that self-awareness is key. Otherwise, you don't really understand what you're saying to yourself is probably keeping you stuck.
Yeah. And a lot of people, they stay stuck. And I think once you're stuck, it's so easy to get caught up in the stuckness of your stuck, if that makes sense, where you become comfortable and complacent in your stuck, that you don't want to go out of it because you get something, at least mentally in your head, out of that stuckness. Even though you keep crying, I don't want to be stuck, you stay in the stuckness deliberately because there's some comfort level there. Is that crazy?
Yeah, no, there's definitely some comfort level there. It's uncomfortable to get out of that stuck area because you have to do something that is new. You have to introduce something that is new in order to get out of what you're in. And so a lot of the times people don't want to do that work and they're fearful of what might come, or there is a limiting belief as to there's no way that I can do that. And so that was installed at some point when they were younger. It could be genealogically as well, that they feel that they cannot get out because of some certain thing that was, that they've seen from their parents, that they've seen from their friends, that they were told when they were younger. And so that's why a lot of people, they feel stuck because they haven't gone back and healed that and got rid of that limiting belief, that self-sabotaging pattern that can tend to happen.
Yeah. How did you find low-carb keto?
Oh, man. So in 2017, I was when I actually got into keto. And the way that I found it was not the same as a lot of people who are finding it today, which is really about weight loss. Right. For me, it was a gut issue. I had a lot of antibiotics that were prescribed to me when I was in high school. Yep. I also had Accutane prescribed to me when I was in high school. I had so many antibiotics that my doctor just gave me the prescription, multiple prescriptions, to go ahead and do it whenever I needed it.
Wow.
Yeah. What I didn't know is how much that can destroy your gut.
Yeah.
And it can take up to 2 years to really rebuild. And it won't ever be the exact same to rebuild your gut and your microbiome. And so what happened is that it's almost like essentially nuking a city, and then it's rebuilding slowly. It's not really going to be the same because they don't quite have the plans. They don't understand it. And so they nuke it. And then guess what? They're slowly rebuilding. And then I nuked it again, and I kept nuking it and nuking it. And then Accutane is another one that I found through research that really destroys your gut as well. So when I graduated college, I ate like complete and utter crap in college. So naturally I gained weight like a lot of people do. And when I started to clean up my diet, I noticed that I've had a lot of flare-ups. So I would be constantly tired. And these are things that happened in college. I just didn't really pay attention to, or I thought was normal. And I couldn't go to the bathroom every day. I would be constipated constantly. It can be from 2 to 5 days constipation, which is obviously very uncomfortable. And anything that I would eat, I would blow it up like a balloon. So even though I was losing weight and hitting the gym and getting into weight training and looking great, I didn't look it. I would still have to wear these baggy shirts to hide my, extended belly from eating a salad. I would be that annoying person that you would take to the restaurant that would ask the waiter a million questions and then engineer my own salad because there are certain things that I did or through an elimination diet. And I even developed a sort of sense of orthorexia through it because I was so just obsessed with food and with what could trigger it. And so it was really a hard time for me. And I actually went to numerous doctors and they couldn't find out what was wrong with me. So they just gave me the gray area of you have IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome.
Right.
And you can't really do anything about that. And I decided to just take the research on my own, like many people do. And I found Allie Miller. I'm sure you know her. She's amazing. And I was with someone on her team and they mentioned that, we need to do a very low carb diet and just go under 60 grams of carbs. And for me, I was really starting to hit the gym and getting into weight training and almost kind of like bodybuilding, building muscle. And I had that old school mentality of, I got to have carbs to build muscle, over 250 grams every day, eating rice, all of the things. And we also did a food sensitivity panel that she has, and a lot of carbs were on there, funny enough. So I'm kind of an all-in or all-out person, and I did a little bit more research, and I found Leanne Vogel on her podcast back in the day, and heard about keto, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try out this keto thing. Why not? If I'm going to go under 60 grams, what's another 40 grams? Might as well try it out and feel the benefits, and I loved it. I did not have to worry about my gut protruding or getting bloating or anything like that. I was going to the bathroom constantly. My belly was super flat and it just felt normal. Like the sensation of feeling normal was, I can't even explain how that felt for me. And going to a restaurant and ordering, a keto meal and not having to worry about whether or not my gut is just going to be looking 6 months pregnant or not. And that to me was very freeing. And I also felt the energy benefits and I really got into it. And so that's how I really stumbled into keto.
Did you ever come across the GAPS diet or the SCD, specific carbohydrate diet, in your research?
What was the last one?
SCD, specific carbohydrate diet?
No, I have not.
It's for people that have gut dysbiosis and have taken a lot of rounds of antibiotics, and a lot of people that deal with IBS. It's something to look into. I know you're doing some carb cycling here and there now, right, within your parameters of what you're doing. So it could be something that would be helpful. I think it's cycling in carbs, but the right kinds of ones that don't exacerbate the gut health issues. And then you know what the GAPS diet is, right?
I've heard of it, but I haven't really dived into it.
Yeah, so Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride, I had her on this show many moons ago talking about it, but she was the one that put it on my radar screen that as the gut goes, so goes your mental health. Mm-hmm. And so the people that deal with anxiety and depression and some of these things that they're dealing with, it's because their gut is out of whack. So when you start talking about all the rounds of antibiotics you were on in your teenage years, I had 30 rounds before the age of 30.
Wow.
So I've long had the same issue. I think it's still some of the reasons why the insulin resistance is persistent, even though I eat next to no carbs and I'll cycle up carbs and still nothing happens. I mean, it's one of those things that I could let it frustrate me, or I just acknowledge, you know what, I had some really bad choices early in life, both from the antibiotic standpoint, which was out of my control when my parents were putting me on those, and then from the nutrition standpoint, getting to 400 plus pounds and all the junk food I used to eat, I don't bemoan where I came from to be where I am now, to have solid brain health, good physical health, even though weight's still on the body. A lot of people, they psych themselves out. Well, if I can't be a supermodel, then I've failed and keto diet didn't work. And it's like, why would you put all the onus on that when there's so many extenuating circumstances that got you where you are today?
You guys tried the Paleo Valley beef sticks? These beef sticks are 100% grass-fed and grass-finished. And many of the grass-fed beef sticks on the market today are actually finished with grains. They use beef sourced from small domestic farms in the United States. They only use real organic spices to flavor the beef sticks versus all the conventional spices sprayed with pesticides and other natural flavors from GMO. They also ferment the sticks, which creates naturally occurring probiotics, all great for your gut health. And best of all, they taste amazing. Again, they're Paleo Valley, my favorite beef stick on the market today. Go check them out, you guys. PaleoValley.com. Use the coupon code Jimmy at checkout for 15% off your first order. Paleo Valley beef sticks.
Yeah, 1000%. And it's true. I mean, it's the gut brain health, for example, right? It's all connected. And, 90% of your serotonin is made in the gut. So, if your gut is compromised, well, guess what? You might have depressive episodes. You might have some anxiety episodes. And so that is oftentimes, again, that alignment, making sure everything is aligned. That's the mental, right? The mind portion of it and the body portion of it. So all of it is in congruency with each other. And, keto really did a solid job in helping me heal my gut and getting rid of those inflammatory foods and allowing it to heal, by adding supplementation as well. And so now I'm at a place to where I can handle carbohydrates and certain kinds that, work for my body. And that's great. I've done the work to be able to do that.
Can we talk about carb phobia in the keto world? I know this is a pet peeve of yours. It's becoming one for me. Like, I'm not one that can have a ton of carbs, but I acknowledge, hey, look, if you've healed your body, our bodies are meant to have a mixed diet. Let's don't pretend that it's supposed to be fat, protein, and no carbs. It's like, all right, carnivore community, slow your roll. I know you love your meat-based diet, and so do I. But you can cycle in some carbohydrates for all kinds of benefits. Can you talk about why you do that in your diet?
Yeah, so I do that simply for hormonal reasons. I also do that for cortisol reasons. I also do that for my gym workouts. And so, in having more anaerobic type of workouts, glucose is going to be a little bit more beneficial and easier for your body to use. Our bodies were made to run primarily off of glucose for a reason. And so I find it funny when people get really dogmatic and staying in one camp for too long. And it's simply saying having metabolic flexibility, I feel like, needs to be the goal at the end of the day. Yes. Being able to utilize carbs when you have carbs and utilize them efficiently, but also utilizing fat when you're in periods of rest, or maybe if it's a, low steady state cardio, whatever it may be. But you're able to utilize both sources of fuel, not just one or the other.
Well, and when you do glycolytically demanding workouts like this little booty exercise you did this morning, oh my gosh, like I look at that and go, you could use some extra fuel to help you those thrusts and get the most benefit. Like, I think we have to get out of the mindset in the keto space that carbs are evil. Carbs are not evil. Strategic carbs for that purpose is helping you build that behind that you're wanting and showing other people this is how you can do it. There's nothing wrong with using them strategically and hormonally, and not just the exercise performance, but hormonally and all the reasons why you use them. I think we have to get away from the mentality that there are bad foods and good foods. There's just foods that are used in specific purposes for specific reasons.
Yeah, and exactly. I love that you said that there is no such thing as a good food or a bad food. And whenever we put it in a certain type of, parameter like that, that's when we can get ourselves into trouble. And that's where we get ourselves in negative patterns and emotional ties to food. You know,
Yes.
and I always tell my clients, you know, if they have a pizza or if they want it, whatever it may be, you know, I always tell them, look, you always have a choice, and that choice is not right or wrong. It's just a matter of, is it going to help you towards your goal or not? What is your ultimate goal? For me right now, I like to give my body breaks. I know, for example, that when I'm on, you know, in a keto diet for too long, I do suffer in the gym. And it's something that I have learned from my body. Some people can do really well, and everyone is different in their biological makeup. There are some bodies that run off great off of carbohydrates, primarily a carbohydrate diet. It's
Right.
not healthy for them. They don't do well with fats. For example, my Muay Thai teacher, he is, I mean, as skinny as a rail. And he runs on carbs. And he's like, if I eat too many fats, like I get really sick. I just don't feel good. And that's completely okay. That is his makeup. That is his body. And he's also extremely active. So it's just a matter of what is your goal and really deciding what works for your body and looking at your body almost like a science experiment. Really see what would work with it and really understand that when you're introducing things, keeping variables the same like you would any experiment is really key. You know, not changing too much and really focusing on your body and being in tune with your body is so important, not forcing it to be something that it doesn't want to be.
Yeah, the dogma thing, and I've been around a long time. I came around when Atkins was still popular, and then Primal Paleo came around, and Whole30, and then keto, and then carnivore and fasting. It's like every one of them, their demise came when they became dogmatic about what they were. Oh, you're not keto. Oh, you're not paleo. Oh, you're not whatever. And I just think that's horrible. And I remember Kiana Williams recently getting on there, her stories and eating a banana. Oh, you don't think you can have bananas on keto? And then she had one, and then she tested her ketones a couple hours later, and she was still in ketosis. Like, we vilify food, and we try to fit people in the box of, if you're not, then you're not keto. And I'm like, that's so stupid. Like, why are we doing that? Why are we sabotaging? And better question, why do we care what someone else is doing in their diet if they're healthy and they're happy with what they're doing?
Yeah, and it's all about projection, right? And it's so funny. A lot of us can get really riled up too, and a lot of those comments or really get involved with that. And I always like to say, and it's actually one of the 4 agreements, is somebody else's opinion of you is none of your business.
No.
It's that, you know, if they're just, you know, absolutely appalled at the fact that you had a sweet potato and you have a primarily, you know, keto diet. And I mean, here's the thing, keto is a metabolic state. So if you're in ketosis and you get to eat a piece of cake and you're still in ketosis, guess what? You're still keto. It's a metabolic state of the body. And if you're primarily producing ketones and you're above 0.5 and you're in a nutritional state of ketosis, then you're in keto and you're fine. And if you're not, again, it's so variable. And this is where it can get really, people can get so caught up in it, into, you know, the numbers of things, the scale or the ketone numbers or, you know, measurement numbers, all of these numbers. And it's like, why aren't we going off of how do you feel?
Right.
You know, are you feeling energetic? Or are you feeling, you know, what are you liking the way that you're feeling? Are you, you know, still not in love with your body? That's another thing to take into account. But it's just a matter of, like, if you're doing great and you really like the way that you're eating and you're feeling good on it, then who cares if your number is a 0.4 on, you know, the keto meter?
Yeah, I stopped worrying about my ketone numbers, number one, because I had done it for years. When I wrote Keto Clarity, I tested for a whole year, every single day, morning and night, and sometimes every hour on the hour for a full. So I know pretty generally what my ketones are doing at any given moment. I kind of remember what that feels like. So I can tell when I'm in a state of ketosis. But like you said, you're going to have clear mind. You're going to have calm mood. You're going to feel energetic. You feel like you don't have to eat I mean, there's so many like signs that you're in ketosis without ever having to test for it. Which is kind of a sad state of affairs when we started pushing testing, which in the beginning, yes, but long term, like I've been at this for a long time, I don't have to do it anymore. It becomes the new scale at some point.
Exactly. And that's what a lot of the times what I tell my clients is when we first get started, I say we do start tracking. And the whole point of tracking is to really get you familiar with what you're putting in your mouth and the different, switching into a different lifestyle. So you have to understand what the macros are and what is, what has more carbs than others, because there are sneaky carbs that you really don't understand that are in there. A lot of people don't, think carrots are fine on keto. And sometimes some people can have too many carrots and then they can get out of ketosis, right? So it really just depends. But a lot of the time too is that if your ketone sensitivity goes up, you're going to uptake a lot of those ketones. So maybe the numbers aren't going to be reflective of you being in ketosis, but you are in ketosis because your body is not going to be producing more ketones than you really need. So as you go along, you're going to become a lot more efficient at utilizing those ketones and uptaking those ketones.
Yeah, that freaks people out because when you first start on a ketogenic diet, and I saw this when I first started testing in 2012, I saw a huge jump. Like within the first month, I was like 4, 5, 6, almost always. I was like, can I cheat? Because I got a lot of ketone. Can I cheat now and I'll still be in ketosis? But I was like, no. So after like 6 months, it came down in that 1 to 1.5 range. And in like a year or so in, then it was like 0.7. And it was like this kind of, you could tell the body was utilizing it, as you were just saying, more efficiently. And like my goal has been make as many ketones as my body needs. What is that, a 0? On the blood, or at least under 0.5, but still be ketosis. Like, I think even that people forget, even that's just a guess. Volek and Finney, in fact, that's Steve Finney back there on the wall. They were the ones that came up with that 0.5 as the minimum for nutritional ketosis. But I think that's for people just starting. I think once you've been well fat adapted, 0.5, it's kind of irrelevant, because if you feel the effects of ketosis and you're making and using them at a 1-to-1 rate, or at least as close to 1-to-1 as possible, you may not see nutritional ketosis, but you're very much in ketosis.
Yeah, and it's really understanding that feeling of ketosis when you're in it, when you first get fat adapted and you understand what that feels like. If you have a really, like you said, stable mood, you have level energy, you're not kind of super up and then super down at the same, after a certain amount of time or right after eating. You're not hangry. You don't have to eat every 2 hours. You're not so focused on food. I actually had a client who, he was a professional boxer and he was heavyweight and he had quite a bit of weight to lose. And, put him on the keto diet. I think his problem, and we didn't test for ketones, but he got to the point where he just wasn't feeling hungry enough to intake the amount of calorie that he actually needs. He was under eating severely.
Wow.
For a 300 some odd pound man who is having workouts like boxing workouts and only eating 1,800 calories, that's not too good. So I actually had to have him eat more carbohydrates to actually kind of level out those hunger hormones so that he can, get more calories in there.
Well, he had to make weight for his weight class. He was a heavyweight champion. So, did he win? By the way, did he win?
He did. He actually did. Yeah, he did. He won. I was super proud of him. And it was one of those things where we just added, a protein shake with, some low glycemic fruits in there, and that actually upped his energy a little bit. And he was able to eat a little bit more because that was his thing. And people don't understand that, you can undereat severely on keto and wreck your metabolism if you're not careful.
Yeah, when you were mentioning that, I'm like, give him a shake. That was the first thing I thought of, because it's easy. You can get in more calories liquid form than you could eating it. So, it makes sense. Well, good. And I think a lot of athletes are now seeing the power of being in a fat adapted state, strategically using those carbs. I'm sure before his fight, he had, a bolus of carbohydrate to get his glycogen stores up. And when he flew through that in the round, then his fat took over and the ketones kicked in and he had superpower.
Yeah, it's exactly right. It's really just utilizing carbs in an efficient manner to, again, tap into those glycogen stores when you need it and to really utilize it when you need it. And that's simply, it can be a, pre-workout thing, and then you could replenish that glycogen storage post-workout. So it's just really just tampering into that and really understanding that some days you might need more carbohydrates. You might need some carbohydrates, if, for example, if you are on a keto diet and you've been fat adapted. And that's the main thing. It's like, if you're a beginner and you're a noob and you have never done keto before and you're just like, oh, I'm going to totally do a carb up, after 2 weeks, it's like, well, you got to give your time to have those changes and those mitochondrial changes in order to tap into that. But, that can take up to 6 to 12 weeks.
Yes. Yeah, I had Tara Garrison on the show last year, and she was talking about post-workout carbohydrates to fill up your glycogen for the next day's workout. I just thought that was so brilliant. And I flip a tire out here in the side of my yard. That's my big workout. I love flipping the tire. I know not everybody does, but I'm a big boy. I'm pretty strong. So I like flipping it, but I find adding in a little carbohydrate post-workout actually does help kind of give that oomph to that. It's a very glycolytically demanding workout to do that.
Exactly, and also aids with recovery. So your body is more optimally primed to take up that glycogen right after a workout.
Right.
So that makes complete and utter sense. I mean, that's what I tend to do is, I might have like a little something depending on what my goal is. If I'm strength building or if I'm muscle building, I'm going to have something a little bit before my workout. I like to do sometimes a lot of my workouts fasted just because I hate eating so early in the mornings. But if my goal is to build muscle, then it helps to have a little bit of glycogen and to kind of tamper that cortisol response early in the morning. Your cortisol is going to be much higher. And then once you go into working out, your cortisol again spikes. And so having a little bit of glycogen and a little bit of an insulin response is going to help taper down that cortisol. So you're not eating away at muscle. You're not kind of in that super high stressful state. So it helps with that. And then afterwards is when I have more of like a whey protein shake. And then I have like, some blueberries. And if I want, I put like a third of a banana in there. And that's all of the carbs that I put in there. I'm not like, loading it up with a lot of carbohydrates. It's just, about 20 grams, 15 to 20 grams worth. And that's all I need.
So guys, what she's referring to with the cortisol being up in the morning, early in the morning, when you wake up in the morning, you have a cortisol response. It's why some people have the dawn phenomenon. It's actually a glucose sparing effect. Your body has glucose dependent functions in the body. And so that's how it creates that glucose. Even in a low carb state, you can have glucose that then goes to those various glucose dependent functions in the body. And then, yes, when you're working out, you add more cortisol. So, and when she says early, like she's on there, I'm up super early in the day. So I see when people wake up and she's in the gym at like, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning many days. And so you're out there doing your thing.
Yeah, I try to get up, 5:15, and then, I typically have my coffee. And I'm not gonna lie, it's funny because pre-pandemic, I was always on the dot, and post-pandemic, I'm slowly still getting back into that earlier time. But again, it's knowing, and I've built and primed my body for that. Yep, 5:20 in the morning. That is my Monday mug. I have that mug for Mondays.
No shame in your game, not there. So, well, before we go, let's talk about self-love, because I think so many people have self-loathe.
Yes.
And why is it so hard for people to love themselves?
Because we haven't really had good examples of it.
Right.
Whenever we are, and this is something that can be very genealogical, meaning it's passed down through generations of, self-hating and self-loathing and hating our bodies. When we are little, especially women, when we are little and we see our mothers when we're maybe 3 or 4 years old, and we see them look at themselves in the mirror and be like, oh my God, I hate how I look. Look at this cellulite. I'm so fat. I'm so this. Well, guess what's getting programmed into your little 4-year-old's mind?
Yeah.
Looking at yourself and hating what you see. That is what's getting programmed. And from the age of 1 to 7, we are just an absolute sponge. That is where the majority of our programming comes in. And then at 25, it's pretty much sealed, and then after that is when we have a lot of the work to do to unprogram those things that are not serving us anymore.
Well, and in the meantime, then those kids have kids, and they're now passing on those learned behaviors to their kids, who then have to try to figure it out when they're 25, and the cycle goes on and on and on.
Exactly. So it's really knowing that you want to interrupt that pattern of knowing, I want to look in the mirror and I want to love what I see. And a lot of the times we don't know quite how to do that, because there's so much social media of, this is the perfect body, this is the perfect body, on magazines, on television, it's in our face constantly of, this is the perfect body. And there is no perfect body. Everyone's unique body is absolutely beautiful. It is created to be a certain way for a reason. You don't look at a flower and you're just like, that's an ugly flower compared to that one. And you don't pick out the petals and say, like, look at this petal compared to that petal. You just admire the flower, and that's it. It's simple.
That flower is so obese today. Oh my gosh, you need to lose weight. Like, nobody would say that.
No. And it's so funny that when people are, oh my gosh, I hate my body, and I have to lose this weight. And a lot of the times when they try to lose the weight, it doesn't come off. And it's because their body is not responding in the way that they want, because you're telling it that you hate it all the time. So of course it's not going to want to do what you want it to do. It's going to rebel against you, or it's not going to work with you. It's going to be a very hard and tough road. And something that I've been realizing, especially over this past year, is by giving my body grace and giving my body love and tuning into my body rather than forcing it to do things that it doesn't want to do, man, it is responding to me in such a way that is like crazy. I'm not right now, this is what I call my birthday month, and I'm not tracking. I'm giving myself a mental break, and that's it. And I'm eating things that, if I want to eat something and I feel like eating that, then cool. I'm not going to beat myself up about it. And I've gained maybe a pound or two, if that, and that's mostly probably from water and inflammation.
Yeah.
And I still look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, damn, I still look good. I still have, muscle definition. I still have all of these things. But talk to me 2 years ago and I would have been a completely different story.
Right. And then all the stress of that different story would have maybe made you gain 7 or 8 pounds because the stress. And so people forget your mindset, how you feel about yourself, your love for yourself. It can make or break your goals. Like, if you knew that consciously, would you do it? No, of course not. But we subconsciously let those trained behaviors in the first 7 years of our life then dictate who we are for the rest of our lives, and they never work on it. And then no diet ever works. No, the diets work. You just didn't work on yourself. So it gives you a lot of love and compassion for people. And I think that's probably why you're doing a great job at your coaching. Again, guys, go look her up. Stephanie Foster, foster.health over on Instagram. And she's got a nice little link there to her services. You do all kinds of things to help out your clients. So definitely check it out. Foster-health.com is her website. There's her glam shot. You do those things all the time, and you got all kinds of services for people that are keto curious, carb curious, all-in-one curious, not sure what program's right for you curious. Like, you've got some really good programs in store, and I love that you put that focus on kind of the non-traditional things. Again, I think you're on the cutting edge of something big, Stephanie. I love how you've defined it as alignment coach. So keep up the great work, and thanks so much for being here today.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It was so fun talking with you. Thank you for having me on the show.
Hey guys, you know I'm all about healthy nutrition, and I have a brand new product I want to tell you about called Athletic Greens. This is not just a multivitamin. It has 75 essential elements that you want to have in your diet, from probiotics to greens, to digestive enzymes, to prebiotics. There's so many things that they pack into the Athletic Greens. The main reason why I love them is it puts it all in one place. Like, literally you'd have to a la carte buy all of these different supplements, and they do it all in one package. So if you go to athleticgreens.com/Jimmy, and you can get a special discount if you go there. And the discount is you get a free 1-year supply of their vitamin D as well as some of their travel packs. Go check it out, you guys. athleticgreens.com/Jimmy.